It's working. Good, good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I've just listened to the prom announcement, so you can hear it. It's 2 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah, this isn't ideal. So my the tram is stopping at the next stop, and I have to get off. So, but I can hand over to stop. Billy should be logging in at 2:45. Said hopefully will. So you just want to clarify with him. Well, you can do the welcome and stuff like that, and she can stop. But you clarify with him how you want questions managed in terms of as he goes, or like if he wants you to read them out as he goes, or at the end. I think that'll be everything, to be honest.
Fair enough.
Just so you're aware, this is recording already. As soon as I logged in, it started recording. So we're going to have to ask CQI to cut this bit before it goes out. Which, yeah. So try to not swear, just in case. Which is hard for me right now as I'm on the tram and you heard that big shouting. So
yeah, that was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's everything. Hopefully Billy will log in soon. Your chat, I think you should be able to share your screen, and I can share mine from my phone. So
yeah, so if I can you see that?
Yeah. Do you have like the general slides that we sometimes put at the start?
I don't know.
It doesn't really say much, to be honest. It's okay. Just have if you just do the usual, like let us know if you want anything, any event suggestions, any talk suggestions or anything like that, to let us know, or to send us an email, things like that. It might be worth noting actually, if you wouldn't mind saying, or I might say at the end, I should be in a good place at the end of the session to maybe say, I think there's been some emails sent to the chair email address, but I've not been getting them. So
okay.
it'd be worth saying that. I don't know. I'm sure there's not been many emails, but there's definitely at least one that's been missed. So I'll maybe make a note of that. But or maybe say it sorry, just if you are able to. Yeah, I'm going to have to go mute again because I am getting chopped off the tram, I think, at the moment.
You're going to get chopped off it? Yeah.
Well, they're ending it. There's some issue. So this is the last stop, I think. I don't know, actually. Hi, Billy.
Hi, Billy. All right. Oh, you're on mute. Yeah, that old chestnut.
Oh, I was on mute. I was just testing. How you doing?
Really, just so you're aware. So I'm on the tram, so traveling back. It's I will be on mute and not doing the intro, things like that. Just so you're aware, it's already recording. That seems to be a new auto thing since it's changed the way the events are running at the moment. So still getting used to that. That's our first one. Doing it this way. So we'll see if we can clip this as where it's sent out. But just for your awareness, that it's already recording. I don't know if you wanted to share your screen. I don't think Scott's sharing it at the moment, but just so you have control of it or not.
What I'll do is it okay if I share, Scott? Then
yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's what I've got to suggest it, because rather than you can say, oh, next slide. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I've just added an extra slide at the end, which I thought was a bit poignant as well. I just thought about this afternoon, so that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thanks for doing this, Billy. I'm really looking forward to it, actually. I'm going to go on mute now because of all the background noise and to save everyone's ears. So I'll let you take it from here.
Okay. Thanks, Gemma, and it's a pleasure doing this today. So thanks.
Oh, that's nice. I honestly so appreciate if you're doing it. I'm genuinely also personally very interested in this, so very excited.
Cool.
So wait to see people join. I see someone joined already, because normally there's a sort of waiting area, but I see people joined already. So we'll give people, so not just start till 7 o'clock. So
cool.
Hello, I'm just joining from the CQI.
right, okay.
Instead of Lisa. So I'm just, you made it in okay, so that's a good start.
We did. Interestingly, it started
Eventually.
recording already. It started recording already. So we'll have to.
Oh.
We'll have to wait. Just so you're aware. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll have to probably cut it off. Obviously, unless
Okay.
we have to probably cut the actual recording as such.
Yeah.
Not sure why
Okay.
it's done that.
Yeah, just for your awareness, it seems to auto start recording. So it must be a setting that's on.
Yes, I think we
so
put
yeah.
the setting on so that there wasn't issues for people to try and get that recording started, because I think without having the auto on, I don't know if you'd be able to do it yourselves unless one of us was present. So I thought I was going to turn it on when I got in, but the setting was created because I think,
okay.
yeah, so something to note for future, but we can edit the video and
Yeah.
and
No, that's
cut this out. No problem. I'll be around for the event. Obviously, I'll be in the background if you need
Mhm.
me. I do have a link to the feedback form for the event.
Right. Okay.
So either I can kind of pop that into the chat at the end of the event, and then you can just highlight that I've sent that for people to do. We'll obviously
that'd
send
be
it
good.
again after the next day.
No, I think because I always go ask Billy, do you want to take sort of questions as we go, or do you want to leave it to the end? Because I've got to say we could then tag that on to the end as such. Yeah.
Yeah, what I tend to do is stop after a couple of slides and just check if there's any questions at that point. But I'll remember to. I've always put the CQI slide at the end, so I'll mention it then as well. But if I do forget, Scott, just jump in.
That's it. Not a problem. Will do.
Thanks.
Will do. So because it is interesting, but I guess the first time I came across in clinical sort of area was when we were both in Selectron. Yeah. When we had, who was it again? Optos and Dunfermline, who are still manufacturing out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that had been after my time, I think, the Optos project. I remember it coming on board, but I kind of left by then. But I wasn't involved in medical devices, and it was more the Sun Microsystems stuff, which was, had me well. I don't know how to explain it, but I was in Rosyth anyway.
I remember that building. Yeah, I remember that building. Yeah, the one that was just dedicated to Sun Microsystems. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. We done well with that building. Take it from a storage area that stored, I think, bobbins for cabling to an actual ESD manufacturing site. I thought was actually quite incredible what the guys done there. But it was a good time. Long time ago now, though.
Yeah, don't tell me. Yeah.
Both my kids were born there when I was working there, and now both of them are they're both parents now as well. So it just shows you how much time's gone on, Scott.
Oh, don't. Every time someone's mostly, I feel like whenever I see on Facebook, it tells me some of the albums, how long ago they were sort of released, and I'm going, oh yeah, it makes me feel.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We mature of age.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And then recently, obviously, you are predecessor to me at Semifab. Yeah. Now, yeah. So.
Yeah. Still know a lot of people work there. Yeah. Because the first place I worked at was Seagate Microelectronics when I first left school. So your Brian Kazubiks and Martin Carnegie's and all that.
Yeah, okay.
No, there. And Martin Carnegie's one of my best friends. He just stays around the corner from me, actually.
Okay.
Going to the rugby on Saturday, so I see Martin a lot. Probably a bit more than I'd like to, actually, to be honest.
Oh, she's a bit away. She's had enough. She's put a camera off. Don't know Chris. So what normally happens, I guess, I didn't do it before, but I guess normally what I'm used to is that people appear and you have to admit them in, but I'm not sure if that's how it's going to be today. So I'll wait to see.
Yeah.
I think there's about 23 people have signed up for it. So, but we'll wait to see. Yeah, because
Yeah, I had a few people contact me saying they'll be joining us tonight, but I'm not seeing any of those people yet, so they might come next couple of months. So.
Yeah. Did you have the slides up? I'll just because if you got to share, you got the.
We'll do. If I share just now.
Let's make sure it works. It'll work for me, but.
Let's see. I'm just a second. Just get rid of a few things. Sure, share the right thing. It's telling me to window. It's telling me to rejoin. Wait a second.
This range.
Let's see. That was me, sorry. Right. One, two, yeah. You can give me now. Right, let's see if I can share now. Right, can you see my screen now?
I can see the Teams. I can't see the presentation. I can see your screen. I don't know if have you got multiple screens as such?
Possibly. Let me stop sharing them out. You can see my screen now, yeah?
I can see Teams anyway. There you go. There you go. Yes, perfect. Yeah, that's it.
That's great. Right, I know what I'm doing now.
See another minute go. I've only seen one name crop in. And I didn't have to admit that person, so.
I'll start sharing in a minute. I'll start the presentation. You can see.
Yeah, so it must be that they don't have, they're just going to drop in, so. Thanks to those who have joined the far. We're just going to wait till 7 o'clock, and I appreciate that it's a dark evening tonight, but hopefully the evenings are getting slightly lighter. Yeah. So we'll wait till about 7. We'll start the presentation at that point in time, just to be aware. Slightly different things have happened now with MS Teams. It has auto recorded, so it is recording now. So just so you're aware. We will, we as in the royal we, CQI will obviously, as part of putting out the recording, we'll trim the recording as such. So I think just we're bang on 7. So I just want to present today, want to talk today, present that we've got Billy Shanks, who's coming to give us a talk on quality management and clinical studies. Thanks to Billy to join us this evening. I'll let Billy do instructions. He can do it far better than I can possibly ever do. And Billy will then take us through that presentation on quality management studies.
Okay, thanks guys. Just share my screen just now and I can get the presentation. Just let me know that you can see that okay, Scott, and hear me okay?
Yes, I can indeed.
That's great. Okay. So hi everyone. Thanks for inviting me along this evening to give this presentation on quality management within clinical studies. Now I know you must have looked at that and went, what else could be more exciting on a wet Tuesday night? So I'll make it as interesting as possible. I'm quite good at making dull subjects quite interesting. That's some feedback I've had from many people. So I'll try my best to do that again tonight. Also for your information, I'm not on the beach. That's just a background. I just didn't want you to see all the washing I've done today. So that's kind of where we are today. But again, yeah, so hi everyone. So my name's Billy Shanks. Spent the last 30 years in quality roles, mainly around about in the medical device arena. I've been sort of the last 20 years working in medical devices and pharmaceuticals. And during that time, I've had the pleasure of working with some great medical device products like StomaCare, blood donor equipment, and inhalers and all sorts of things. In the last 5.5 years, up to December last year, sorry, I worked for a company called Catalent Pharma Solutions, who dealt with clinical study drug delivery. So they have a facility in Bathgate, just between Edinburgh and Glasgow, where they do storage and packaging of clinical study products. So a really varied portfolio of clients and drugs to deal with in that facility, and it was really interesting. As I said, I finished that job up after 5.5 years in December. I'm currently working for a company who manufactures stair lifts, so I'm looking at that side of things just now as well. I've also enjoyed over the last few years looking at some QMS implementation, so I've been involved in three companies implementing 13485 there, and also managing 9001 right through its inception of BS 5750 all those years ago. So yes, I'm showing my age now. Right through to ISO 9000, the sort of the current standards. So that's been interesting. I'm actually looking at my degree here and now. It's actually 16 years ago that I got my master's at Napier University, and also I did HNC Mechatronics at Wesleyan College way back in the day. So that's me. When I'm not doing this type of stuff, I play a bit of guitar. I'm not playing in a band at the moment, but I do play a bit of guitar. I love my rugby, follow Scotland and Edinburgh, and I like spending time with my family as well. Married to Susan, got 2 kids, kidults actually, and they've presented me with 2 grandsons as well. So that keeps me very busy when I'm not trying to root cause us out of danger. Yep, so a quick recap. What we'll do today is I'll give you a quick introduction to clinical studies, what's involved in a clinical study, and how the GMP regulations kind of fit in with the clinical study. And then I'll also explain how that all matches together, but I'll also explain what GMP means, because I'll just treat you like you don't know. So, excuse if you do. But it's also the impact that quality has in the industry, which is really important for us quality professionals to make sure that that we know it, but everybody else needs to know it as well. Okay, so have a wee quick introduction. So a clinical study. So when you look at the World Health Organization, they call a clinical study. If you ask one of those guys, they'll say it's a controlled study in which a medicine in its development stage is tested for safety and effectiveness in healthy volunteers or patients. Once safety and effectiveness is demonstrated, apply for licensing from the regulatory bodies to market the product for commercial supply. So that's done in 3 stages. So the first stage is done with a healthy volunteer. So they'll take someone, probably a bit like myself, I suppose, who's completely healthy, and they look for adverse effects, you know, within the body, and how it affects the body itself. So there's nothing there that these patients have, you know, that could affect that drug. Then I'll go to second phase, and then what they'll actually do is actually look at the therapeutic side of things. Does this drug work? So they will take a patient. So it could be someone that's maybe is suffering cancer, or they've got cancer, or they maybe had it. You know, so they'll then apply that drug. You know, so you hear that a lot where, you know, people that have maybe been diagnosed with a certain illness and they hear a clinical study. So then they can offer themselves to be part of that, because again, it's all about thinking about future, I suppose, and, you know, future generations. So again, at that stage, you're looking for the safety and efficacy of that actual drug. So when that passes, at that point, yep, you've looked, you said the drug actually works, it's therapeutically positive, so you'll apply for the license, and then that will become a commercial supply. So there's a lot of reasons why we go through all this process, and I'll explain that very shortly. But you know, that's exactly, so every time you walk into like a super drug or Boots the chemist and you pick up a bottle of pills off that shelf, they have been through this clinical study. So let's go back to the beginning. So thalidomide, I think that's how you pronounce it. I've got a bit different, but you know what I'm talking about. So this is going back to sort of like the 50s, but prior to that, as way back as early as 1868, the Pharmacy Act was passed to allow pharmacies to, you know, to practice, you know, the dosage of drugs. And then sort of many years later, the Food and Drug Administration was created, and that was to allow the USA to have controls of drugs and how the drugs could be administered and where they were being held as well. 8 years later, the feds thought they would get in on this because I think there was a bit of cash involved, so they got in and created the FDA, who are the Federal Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act, and this is when the federal agencies got involved, because there had to be a bit more control of drugs themselves, but also cosmetics and foods as they were going out, because there was too much at that time. There was a lot of evidence of mismade drugs, and also you know, misdeveloped drugs and cosmetics as well. And then in 1957, the Total Control of Pharmaceuticals report created the World Health Organization. But in 1957, that was before I was born, by the way, in case you think I was around at the time, because I wasn't. So thalidomide kind of reared its head. So what happens, a company developed this sleeping tablet for adults in a liquid form for children. So the idea behind it was to combat nausea in the early stages of pregnancy. Now, going back to the 50s, where we weren't so PC in those days and things like that, so the strapline for this drug itself was so safe you can take it in handfuls without killing yourself. Mild sleeping pill, safe even for pregnant women. So during that time, so it was marketed firstly in West Germany, then to Canada, then on to the UK. And during that time, around about 1960, the user started experiencing tingling hands. And then that was followed by thalidomide was then put onto prescription only to try and control that. But then alarm bells were increased when the number of deformed infants were getting born, and it was all going back to the parents were taking that particular drug. So that led, in that November of that year, that particular drug being withdrawn from the market. A very sad picture indeed, but I'm sure I've seen this before, but just again, a couple of you know, examples there of you know, what exactly happened. Let's not dwell on that picture because I don't like it, but it just kind of shows that what happened there. So where are we just now is we've had that incident so the regulations had to get involved. So in 1968, the Medicines Act introduced systems in the UK for licensing. So this is where they started licensing drugs, you know, and the scope of that was some of the new medicines that were just being prescribed at the time or just being developed, kind of pre-1968. They started licensing actually manufacturing sites of these drugs and also looking at clinical trials and how we manage clinical trials. And it's not as far back as 2004, see, that was 20 years ago now, geez, Clinical Trials Directive was announced in Europe. So that's to legally enforce single quality standard, you know, from the 1st of May 2004, which implemented GMP, which is good manufacturing practice and good clinical practice for investigational medicinal products, IMPs, as they call it in the industry. Okay, so the GMP regulations, it's called the Orange Guide. Why is it called the Orange Guide? Because the front cover's orange, that's it, right? So, and this was when the MHRA were formed as well in the UK and Europe. So they enforce the Orange Guide, perform inspections of facilities and issue and control our licenses and have the power to prosecute. And so they're typical sort of like time of, you know, like circle time roundabout when they go to audit places is usually 18 to 30 months, depending on the outcome of your audit. Similar to, you know, a BSI audit, you know, if you have critical findings or lots of majors, then they would come back a bit sooner than that. So that's the role of the MHRA, and no company can actually produce IMPs for clinical or indeed any commercial drugs without an MHRA license. Likewise, in the USA, the Food and Drug Administration were there. So they were enforcing the Code of Federal Regulations, the CFR, which is known as FDA 820 quality system. They've got similar powers to the MHRA, but for the US, and they'll inspect it. They will also inspect UK facilities when product is to be marketed to the US. So, so Catalent themselves, they did supply drugs to the US for clinical trials. So the FDA did they did audit that facility. Okay, that's a bit about the actual, you know, the regulations and the reason why that we have guys like the MHRA and the FDA. So a big part of that, when we look at the quality system now, is it's called GMP. Now, this is a practice that you see in, you'll see it in medical devices, pharmaceuticals, but I've seen it also being adopted in other industries such as electronic manufacturing and so forth, where I worked before. Now, GMP means good manufacturing practice, and the official statement is part of quality assurance, in which ensures that products are consistently produced and controlled to the quality standards appropriate to their intended use. I've underlined the word intended use there because it's a word that comes up a lot in the next couple of slides, because the whole point of the GMP and an ISO 13485 system is to make sure that what you're producing is made for the intended use of the end user. So it brings consistency and control to your processes. So it is fit for that intended purpose. And what you're doing is you're actually building in quality into your process. So rather than inspecting everything out of your process, you're building that quality into your process to make it more lean, make it more sort of feedback, closed loops, but also it's designed in a way so that you can get the end product through the process with reducing your error count. So again, that's a big part of GMP. What's important about GMP is what it actually does for the medicine, because when you pick up a medicine, you've got to be knowing yourself that you've got the right product and it's been made correctly. The product's not degraded, and also, you know, more importantly, it's not contaminated. Now, if we didn't have GMP, we couldn't guarantee that. So without GMP, you're pretty much taking medicines on trust. So therefore, GMP is all about making medicine safe to take, again, the intended use. So let's take this into the real world, right? Because I know there's a lot of people on tonight that are not part of the pharmaceutical industry and maybe not been involved with GMP before, but let's you know, sort of look at something that we probably all have done at some point, you know, is buy a car, right? So you've got a couple of grand in your pocket, £7,000, whatever it is, you know, £40,000, yeah, and there's lots of things that you've got to consider when you buy a car. Okay, so when you're like, right, so the make and model, that's important, right? So there might be a, you know, you might fancy a Golf, you might fancy a Ferrari, you know. So again, that's really important. You know, that starts you on your journey looking for your car. Engine size is important. You know, you might have a long commute to work, so you might want a nice 2-litre engine or something like that. You know, age and registration, you don't want something that's kicking on 100,000. You know, you might something with low mileage, and again, it's got full history, which is your documents in the previous history for all your MOT, all your servicing, you know, and everything to deal with that car if it's been involved in accidents or anything. So again, it's having that history. The condition of the car is really important, you know, because you want to buy a car that you're going to have for 3 or 4 years. So to make sure the condition is good, you don't want ripped seats, rust or whatever. And the colour could be important to you as well, depending on what you're looking for. You know, you might fancy a nice pink motor, or like mine's is a lime green colour, I think my car is, but I'm still debating if it's yellow or green. But however, it looks great. Yeah, but again, that's really important. So when you go to the showroom or you're on somebody's driveway, you're buying it privately, you can see all this stuff and you can ask for this stuff. So you can tell by looking. But when you go into a Superdrug or, you know, a Boots the Chemist, sometimes you can't tell right away. There's nothing on there that says it's going to list all this stuff. So again, when you're liking it to buying a car, the make and model is the right product. The engine size is the strength. So you're looking to make sure, yeah, this is 80 milligram, whatever it is. The age, you know, the expiry date, that you'll find that on the label as well. So again, that's really important. And the documentation is the batch record of the manufacturer of this drug. Now that's something you can't ask for in the, you know, in the chemist. And the condition as well, you won't find that out until you you know, get back home to actually take them. But again, you might not be able to see inside the tablet as well, so you're not going to sit and break it down to see if there's any, you know, shrapnel or anything in there. So you can't tell that either. And also that the colour is the right appearance. So again, you can't just tell by looking. So that's the reason why it's so important that GMP practices are put in place. So when we look at GMP, right, so again, this will be quite relative to everybody, because, you know, QA and QC, although the regulations can steer them in different directions, the principles are usually the same, you know, in any industry. So every GMP process has QC and QA. So again, quality control, you know, their part of GMP is doing sampling, you know, sampling of the drugs, and, you know, making sure that it's got those right properties in there. Testing materials and making sure that we're testing them correctly, using that right material. We write product specifications for the product as well, because this all ensures that the materials are fit for their intended purpose. And so again, you know, the materials that are going in, we need to make sure that the raw materials are correct, all the packaging's right for deterioration, equipment we use to make the drugs or pack the drugs, and also the finished products as well, you know, what the finished product is. That again is all about quality control, so you can apply that to any industry, and it's exactly the same, you know, in the, you know, if you take a semiconductor company, you know, part of the raw material is certain types of gases, so they need to make sure that that's done properly. So they'll have a quality control unit that will make sure that that's done right. And then you've got on the other side is quality assurance. So that's the concept covering everything that can affect the product quality. So yeah, so you get involved in client or customer audits. You have SOPs that guide processes. You have review of documentation, so you have batch records which record all the manufacturing and movement of all the materials to make that end product. We have deviation and complaints procedures that allow us to correct during the process and also move on to improve any issues we've got. And it allows us to release the product. So again, you see this stuff in every industry from QA. Which makes us quite interesting people, because it means we could probably go and work anywhere. Maybe, I don't know if you fancy that. But if you look at the components of a GMP process, now we've got documentation. So again, this documentation is there to demonstrate that we're compliant to regulatory commitments. So written into the SOPs for certain processes, we will write in there that the regulatory requirements for this process is this, that, and that, and then that requires those testing. So it could be like a level of testing, it could be the way that we handle deviations, it could be the way that we train people. You know, people need to be at a certain level, especially if you're a scientist working in a lab. You know, that needs to be demonstrated within the documentation. That documentation also provides a consistency of the process. So if you've written an SOP that step by step, this is how you do it from A to Z, then that will show consistency. It avoids confusion and errors from spoken communication. Now, we've all played Chinese whispers, you know, at some point in our life where, you know, you're whispering thing and it's a completely different thing at the other end. So that can happen with spoken communication. So again, a good strong SOP or work instruction will, you know, will reduce that error opportunity. It gives you traceability, you know, in the batch record. So when you create a batch record for a, you know, a drug, or you're creating a run card for, say, a batch of wafers or a circuit board, all the traceability is built into that. So, you know, people that have tested the product, people that have put that connector in, people have implanted that wafer, you know, all that information is there, and then that allows you to trace back. Because in the, you know, in the maybe unfortunate incident, you've maybe had a customer complain, or there's been something happening out in the field, you can then go and retrieve that information, and you can go back as far as the person, you know, when they did it, how they did it, it's all documented there. So that's a big requirement of GMP, and that allows, it goes again back to the intended use and keeping the medicine safe. Now, the big part of this, and the bit that's the control, the bit that really needs to be controlled, is our good selves, our people that are in the process. So you've always depended on the process, but like any process as well, it's like you've always got to make sure you've got a high standard of personal hygiene. So I don't lecture people on how to brush their teeth, but certainly, you know, the expectation of people coming into an area where they're handling drugs or they're handling components and so forth, that they have that hygiene standard. You know, and that protects, you know, the product from things like, you know, microbiological contamination, chemical, and also foreign matter as well. You know, last night, it's no good having like last night's pizza kind of falling into a barrel of API. You know, that wouldn't do it very well. Maybe the tablet tastes better, but it wouldn't do any good for the material itself. So again, protective clothing is really important, you know, when it comes to this. I'm sure, you know, those who work in manufacturing, there is some level of protective clothing, be it a full, you know, chemical suit, be it, you know, like a wafer fab suit, you know, or just a hairnet and a face mask. And, you know, so we need to make sure that our SOPs, you know, reflect that, but also that we maintain that as well. But also being aware of anything that could affect the quality of the product as well, that's written in there, and everything that we do, everything we touch, and how we behave as well, is in the, you know, the good heart of the quality of the product too. So if we didn't have GMP, the consequences are quite catastrophic, to be honest with you. So first of all, you're risking patients' health, you know, so again, somebody could be buying medicines that it might not provide the care and attention that they require. Their life could be dependent on it as well. It loses a lot of trust and confidence in that particular drug itself. Product recall. Now, product recall is a very expensive thing to any company, but it's not just from a financial, which it is because it costs a lot of money to do that, but the impact on the business is quite severe as well. So, you know, a company that's had a product recall, it's on the FDA and MHRA website, so you can access that information. And yeah, it'd make you think twice about, you know, no, they've had a product recalled. Should I really speak to them about my clinical trial? Not really sure. So again, the impact on the business is quite severe. And again, that can affect other industries as well. The biggest, you know, message that you can give any workforce is everybody's responsible for GMP. Everyone's responsible for good quality of product and service, and GMP is no different from that. You know, you build GMP into your processes, you build quality into your processes, and when you train people to execute those processes, they are responsible to do that. So everybody's responsible for GMP. It's not just the quality department, it's not just the CEO of the company who signs your quality policy, it's actually everybody who touches and has any interaction at all with the processes. I wanted to kind of touch on a few things here, a bit of history with, and this slide is actually designed to make us think how important quality is, not just in the pharmaceutical industry, or the medical device industry, but in any industry at all. There's been some major incidents over the years that, as part of the investigation, it was found that not following the quality management system was part of the root cause of the issue. So we talked about the thalidomide, which was pre-registration, but let's go back to 1988. I don't remember much about 1988 because I spent most of it in the pub, but however, that's another story. We had Piper Alpha, which was where we had the explosion on the oil rig in the North Sea. Now, the part of the investigation found that preventative maintenance was not being followed, and as part of the investigation, which led to the breakdown and the fracture of the unit, which caused the explosion. So clause 7.1.3 of the current ISO 9001 standard is infrastructure, and that's what that's all about. It's about maintaining your infrastructure, the preventative maintenance and everything like that. So again, that was called out as part of the failing. In 2009, we had the Toyota sticking accelerator, which is when the accelerator, due to multiple stack-ups in the design, the accelerator actually stuck and accelerated without the person touching it. They sped up down the highway and ended up crashing into the wall, and that was called out as a really severe design development flaw. Now, I visited the Toyota factory in Derby about 4 years ago as part of a continuous improvement thing to look at their lean manufacturing. Unbelievable experience, and I'd recommend it to anyone. But part of that was there was a quality section, and they invited us into a dark room to listen to the recording of that actual incident. So they phoned the emergency number, and the guy was talking through everything, and it just went dark. It was probably one of the scariest things I've ever listened to, but it's always stuck with me. And I think at that point, even though it was only 4 years ago and I've been working a long time in quality, it made me think, yeah, my job's really, really important here that we do that. So again, another example. And then around about the same time frame, we had the PIP implants where they were exploding, and that was root cause down to where they actually used I think it was industrial grade silicon instead of a medical grade silicon. So even though these implants were designed and developed to use that, the purchasing process was not followed, and that allowed them to go and use an unapproved supplier of that material because it was cheaper. You know, so again, just you can see there the sort of the impact a quality system has on business, on you know, the world outside, on people. People lost their lives because of these incidents. So never underestimate the importance of a quality system. And again, it's all about your quality management principles. You know, it's that customer focused leadership, engagement with people, which was a real important thing, you know, from top down. Your approach to your process, as well as building in the quality, you know, at each step. It's continually looking at improvements in your process to make sure that we're continually making the process better. I mean, you know, like cost comes into that as well, so that's good for your client. Every decision you make is very evidence-based, and again, it's using those proper tools and root cause analysis when you're making those design, you know, decisions, you know. And the relationship management is really important as well. You know, like every job I've had in the last 30 years, you know, starting off at Jabil and end up at WeMac, is it's all been about working in that cross-functional role, and that's the beauty of working in quality, is having that type of role. And the relationships are really important. So we're building trust. It's about, you know, having that great communication, so you can really link arms. Because again, us quality guys, we might not be subject matter experts in absolutely everything, but when you're working with engineers, you're working with operational people, design development guys, scientists, you know, you need their input to make sure that evidence-based decision making is being executed properly. So they're the things that get me out of bed in the morning, you know, from a quality standpoint. But there was just one thing I wanted to touch on very quickly before I end this presentation and open up for any questions. There is one tool that I wanted to touch on, which is really important for us quality professionals, but any professional at all. Our job's quite tough, you know. We're the kind of the linchpins in a lot of decision making. A lot of, you know, sort of regulatory things that go out on the field, things that go wrong, and responsible for really building that quality into the processes. We need to like look at ourselves and make sure that we keep ourselves, you know, really fit. So mental health is really, really important for us all. You know, your health is your wealth. You know, the healthier you keep yourself, the more wealthy you are to the cause, not just to your pocket, but to what you do. So I always like to go back to Rabbie Burns. You know, I count my health my greatest wealth. You know, and it's a great statement. And I always remind myself of that. I've recently had a mini stroke just at the end of last year. You know, and that was down to, you know, there's a lot of factors in there which I'm not going to go into because I need to be careful what I'm saying. But again, it's something that had to be. It taught me a lot about, you know, looking after myself and you know, and listening to myself as well. So please, guys, please look after yourself, keep yourself healthy, and then that will allow us to continue contributing to the industries that we work in. So that's me at the end of my presentation. Again, I think it's been dropped into the chat box that there's a feedback form there, so please give your feedback on the presentation myself, because again, I'm always looking to improve, and also anything that the memberships can do. But a big shout out to the CQI. If you're not a member, please, you know, the information's on the screen there about how you can join up. There's a phone number, and also go to the website. But I'd just like to, on a personal note, just to thank, you know, first of all, Gemma at East of Scotland. She does a fantastic job running, you know, that that part of the CQI. And she's been doing it for quite a few years now, and she does it very tirelessly. So please support the East of Scotland. Likewise, Mark as well. I've got to know Mark really well over in the West of Scotland, and again, you know, please support Mark and the West of Scotland with their quest to keep things going. And that's me finished, and I'll open up to any questions or any comments. You're on mute.
That old chestnut. I guess then for me, just to start off the question, I guess, is of all, obviously GMP, it's obviously there's a lot of things that are quite different to other management systems and quality approach. Is there anything, a takeaway that we could take from GMP and put in our quality approaches for other sectors, given this other systems? I will just back to
you. Yeah, you're right. There is quite a few things that you could take. So one thing that I've seen, I went to work for Plexus for a couple of years, and they've got medical devices and aerospace and everything, and they adopted like a best practice through like all their quality systems, AS9000 and everything together. And what they took from GMP and the medical device standards was like things like the dates, how to write a date down, something as simple as that. And that's down to, obviously the Americans like to put like month, day, year. With us guys in the UK and Europe do day, month, year. So that standardizes, and it's usually the 234 rule. So today is, what's the 20th of February today? So that would be 20 FEB 2024 would be the date format. So there's things like that. So again, and also there's like visible changes in documentation. So I know we don't use Snowflake anymore and things like that. It's stuff that was chucked in the bin a long time ago. But I still see things like, especially like when I'm working just now where it's not as regulated, folk just scrub out, mistakes and just write and then correct it. Whereas in GMP, what you're supposed to do is actually put a line through what you initially did, a quick explanation, and then and then make the change, so you can actually see what the reason that you've made that change or made that error, and it's all traceable. So there's a lot of things with documentation practices that are it could be kind of taken into other industries, definitely. Especially I think oil and gas have been adopting a lot of their stuff in recent years. So. Any other questions or comments from anyone?
Do you think that quality and the things you just described there with clinical trials is done better due to GMP and things like that compared to other industries? It just seems there's a lot more regulations in place. Would you say it has resulted in better results, less errors and things like that? Or do you think it's on par with other industries?
I think if you go back to that statement that I made about intended use, so if you look at the risk, so there's a lot of risk base involved in GMP as well, and you get that in a lot of industries, where I think it's really in line with what you're producing. So there's no margin for error when it comes to a medicine, but if you're making like a screw or then there's less margin for error. If a screw breaks, you can just change it over, even though that's not acceptable. But it's that kind of way that, and it's probably the reason why they're less regulated industries. But however, I think if you kind of do check, if you do like the power of balance over everything, I would say probably GMP leads the way in control of processes and doing like if you take a first pass yield, which is everything going out the door first pass right through the process without any issues. I firmly believe that the pharmaceutical and medical device do lead the way, and I've been speaking, and they've also been collaborating with like automotive industries, because again, things like brake systems and things like that can't afford to fail on the road, as you've seen with the Toyota issue. So I would say probably they are ahead in kind of like risk-based management and safe fail kind of processes, but they have been translating that over into other industries of late, which is good, because I think like even forums like ourselves, like the CQI, this is what this is all about, is taking ideas from different industries and adopting it and taking it forward in other industries. So
that's really interesting. Thank you. This is not a well formulated question, but would you, as part of the quality management system in these areas, is there a part that you would say is more pivotal than others in driving the best results? So what I mean by that is you've talked a lot about documentation and the importance of that, the data format, and you just gave an example of so the likes of that, and also the actual clinical trials part and testing. Generally, would you say there's any or multiple aspects or key processes within the industry that are pivotal to performance or provided the biggest impact, either way, whether negative or positive?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, positively, I mean, certainly, I mean, when you look at all the key points of a quality system, you know, documentation, you know, like all your product realization processes like calibration and design and development and everything like that, they all feed into, you know, your positive results. So I think one without the other would have an impact. So documentation for me is usually always one of the key things, because that's where your process is documented. So that keeps the consistency within the process. That leads on to a bit of, you know, better training for people, so that you're actually training against that SOP. So you've got that documented process there, but also you're documenting the process as well. Each stage, the operator's name, the date and time they done it, the machine that was used, the date code of the materials, all in there. So again, it gives that full traceability. So it's kind of the traceable processes, so documentation, but also people are pivotal as well. And I know that's a bit of a cliche, but it is true here, because I talked about cross-functional teams, that it's important that people understand sort of the impact of a quality system, and if it's not followed, what can happen. So again, it's getting people engaged in a quality system is probably the first thing you really need to do. When I implemented the ISO 13485 a few years ago to a small laboratory, it was like I went in the first day and nobody had heard of what a quality system, let alone 13485. But the first thing I did was sit them down and explain what it was all about and what it meant to them. So it was about engaging the people. So I think when you engage people, so you can have the best quality system in the world, but without people engagement, it won't work. So I'd probably, to answer your question, Jem, I'd say probably the people aspects and the engagement of the system is probably the most important to yield those consistent results.
Thank you.
Anything else, guys?
There's a question in the chat. Catherine has asked, will the effectiveness of these systems be the same when drugs are less mass produced and become more tailored for everyone's specific genes?
No, so you're talking about how effective the processes are. Is that? I can't actually see the chat here. You couldn't ask me that question again, Gemma? I'm sorry.
No problem. Will the effectiveness of these systems be the same when drugs are less mass produced and become more tailored for everyone's specific genes?
Oh, no,
right. So I would say no to that, because I think every process needs to be, you know, efficient. You know, no matter how big or small the process, how large the output is, how small it is. So if you think about a new product introduction process where no batch of whatever it is you're making is the same, and it could range from like maybe 6 units up to about, you know, 2,000 units, depending on, you know, the size of the trial and the size of the protocol. But everything you do needs to still be the effectiveness of those processes still need to be you know, proven. I think maybe part of that question might be coming from when you're doing a mass production of something. So when I worked in Welland Medical, and we were producing colostomy bags, and we were making like 30,000 a week, that process, you know, it looked after itself. It went on, but we still had to make sure that the checks and balances were in place. We had to make sure that the machines were maintained properly, calibrated equipment, trained operators to make sure that process remained effective at all times. So again, it's about avoiding the complacency, I suppose, in a process, not just the people. So I think any process, big or small, needs to be effective, and that effectiveness still always needs to be measured. Hope that answered the question.
Silence is agreement, I'd say.
Yeah, possibly.
Thank you.
I don't have any other further question. I mean, thanks for tonight. I mean, it's good. Just for me, it's more about demystifying GMP. Yeah, because it's one thing that it always comes about, and I'm going, I can sort of get it, but some of the intricacies, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to, you know, if anybody wants to contact me, you know, via email or via the CQI or LinkedIn, get any questions or, you know, or anything I can help you with, please do not hesitate to contact me. I'm always willing to share my experience and any knowledge I've got, because I know how much that helps our industry, and I'm at a stage in my life now where I want to start giving back as well. So, you know, so yeah, I'm open to, if anyone wants to contact me, I'm always up for a chat. So yeah, no problem.
Thank you, Billy. That's really appreciated that you've come along and spoke to us about that. It's really interesting. It's an area I don't know much about at all, so extra interesting for me, and it was really well done in terms of I didn't need to know about clinical trials or pharma to understand it. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me.
Anytime. Come along anytime.
You might regret saying that. Okay, thanks everyone. Take care of yourselves. Like I said, with your mental health, make sure you're always looking after that all times. You know, I'm someone who does suffer some mental health issues now and again, but I know how to control it. But again, just make sure it doesn't creep into your work and personal life, and just get that work-life balance. And then you do that, your health's your wealth, and then you'll go on to do great things. So thanks very much, guys, and just take care, and hopefully see you again.
Yeah, that's a great one. Great note to end on, Billy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Just want to make a note whilst everyone's here that there seems to be an issue with the chair email address. If anybody asks any questions, or you've submitted any ideas about what you want to hear about in the future, just bear with or contact the CQI through their email address, the general contact one, and they'll make sure it makes its way to the East of Scotland Committee ultimately. So apologies if anything's been sent and it's been missed. Just working through the backlog to pick up on that there. And please do let us know if there's any, either in the chat now or by email at a later point, if there's any topics of interest you'd like us to try and get some willing volunteers to speak to us for. If you have any suggestions in topics or speakers, anything you want to hear about, do let us know and we'll see what we can do.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Really?
Oh. It's been recording 30 minutes. I'm a bit concerned that it's missed the start of the presentation.
Is that what it says? 8 minutes?
It says 58 minutes.
Oh, I know why it is. Because I changed my login. So
yeah,
I think I saw, switched.
Yeah.
That's interesting. It doesn't update. Like, it doesn't have a collective number. That's interesting.
Yeah, that is weird. But I can see it's been recording for the whole time, so we should be good. And that should be ready pretty much soon after, and then we can edit the stuff before and after. The reason why it started too is because also with the change of the email address and Teams channels and stuff, we've done the setting bypass the lobby as well, so that people don't have issues.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Getting in and stuff. So
maybe moving forward, we'll just make sure we identify who will be. Well, we did, but other things happen sadly. But we'll try and really make sure we have. Are you able to sign more than one person as a co-owner?
I think so. Ramel normally sets these up. She's up just on leave today, which is why me and Lisa kind of supporting in the background. But yeah, I think you can assign more than one person. So I think it's just having that.
So maybe when we set these up, then we'll be sure to give at least a couple email addresses just in case, because then we could switch the lobby thing on, and then we don't have to record straight away. And because we usually will the committee, so we'll generally come on first and either do a meeting or or as you've seen, Billy came in there to make sure everything was set up okay. So it means we can hit record at the right point and can not admit people before we're ready, because that's always a bit awkward when you're
that's
doing that
true.
and people are listening in.
Yeah, I think so. Some of our networks use Zoom webinar and some networks use Teams webinar. And the Zoom webinar has no impact with the email addresses and stuff like that, like this.
Okay.
So it's literally, there will be the same setup. So it'll be the bypass, like you can choose people to go in the lobby and then admit them in and start their webinar. So you could look at potentially, I don't know if there's a preference, but you could look at doing Zoom webinar for future events too. That's always an option. You don't have to stick to Teams. So you can always specify to Ramel when you put an event and just say, oh, can we do this on Zoom webinar? And
okay,
it might
and
be
that would bypass a lot of those issues, would it?
I think so. I honestly don't think we can try it where we have multiple hosts or whatever they're called for this, or we can just do Zoom webinar next time, but it wouldn't have any.
It wasn't that Teams was a preference, so we just were told
just
the
did
Teams.
it. Yeah.
I am more comfortable with Teams.
Some have a preference.
But if it was, I personally prefer Teams, but that's just I don't use Zoom. So, but if it worked better, no problem using Zoom. I'm just very used to Teams.
Fair enough.
But it wasn't, as I say, it wasn't a choice in this instance anyway.
Okay.
So we can happy to use whatever is easiest, to be honest.
Fair enough. But we can try Zoom webinar next, and you can see if you prefer that.
It's different being almost out of control in this one, usually because it was our first one since Eventbrite use has gone.
Right. Okay.
So it was not knowing who signed up, not knowing how many attendees there were, or being able to run it ourselves was a bit anxiety inducing.
I see the point. I think I'm not sure if Zoom webinar shows that either, but it's a different way of finding out that information as well. But we can discuss with Ramel for the next one and see what we want to do. But I think Zoom webinar is set up differently. I think it's more what's the word? Not more professional looking and how it's set up and in terms of the lobby, and I know that Teams webinar does have that. I just feel like this is more of a good space for meetings and stuff, whereas I think Zoom was literally created for a lot of Zoom events and stuff. So we can try both though. So
we can definitely give it a go for the next one. And
I'll let Ramel know when she's back tomorrow, just as a heads up.
Just while we have you, just got a couple of questions.
I'll try and answer them.
The event, are we off Eventbrite because it's now got to be paid for? Is that because we don't know what's happened? It's not really slowed down.
I honestly don't know what the context is there. It might have been the subscription, but I'm not 100% sure. So just to give context of where I'm at, I haven't actually met both of you officially, so hi. But you probably would have seen an email, but I just came into this role to take over Caroline in December. But I was in Member Journey and the membership team at CQI for the past 6.5 years. So I've been around, but the PNet, the professional network side of stuff is still new. So anything kind of pre me with the Eventbrite stuff, I'm still catching up with, and I think it's a subscription thing, but I don't know the full story personally. I just heard I say we also have a Scottish Regional Steering Committee as well, and I'd heard it might be going, but I say it doesn't really make its way down the chain to us communication wise to know what's happening. So I don't know. I didn't know this when we said, can you set this up? That there being a form was new as well, things like that. We're still, the form thing, we're just sort of bringing that back because we found people submitting their event stuff either the full details aren't provided and there's a lot of back and forth, and then someone's on leave and no one else knows what that is, and we're just trying to keep one
no
line
issues
of.
with any of this, by the way. It's just to say we didn't
Oh
know
no,
it,
I know, that's fine.
I think it's probably more communication. I think just because it's new, and it's just like it just needs
so
a bit
then when
more.
we do it maybe a bit later, because this one we got this sorted a bit later than we would probably like to, then in terms of us knowing what was happening and the date and things like that. So then we're like, oh, we can't do that.
Yeah.
We now have to tell you guys and get that sorted that way and things like that. We can't just quickly pop it up and then post it on LinkedIn straight away and things like that. So it just means we need to be a bit more organized to allow that time in between, essentially, you know. So we don't put pressure on you, because I was like, can we get this up soon?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, definitely. No, that's fine. And so
invite, sorry. So I think I said in my message, if we could invite everyone, because it's online, as in all members, because
yes,
but then it only went to Scotland, from what I understand. I just wanted to know if there's any rules around that we should be aware of, because I personally, if it's online, I don't know why we would restrict it to just Scotland, the Scottish members.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, no, I don't know if there is, to be honest. I think with, as you say, like hybrid and in-person ones, obviously you'd send to the region.
Yeah.
But I don't see why we can't send it to a wider audience. So I'll talk to Ramal again, and bring that up as well, because it's a good point just to try and get a wider audience.
I just feel bad there wasn't that many, because I think if somebody emailed back and there's like 27 people registered, but we had, I think Scott, you said separately 9, with the exception of the committee. There's another 9 outside committee members, which is not great for the speakers in a way as well, like, because just feeling like they're added because they're taking time out to do this.
Yeah, definitely.
They also want to be doing it to have a reasonable amount of impact. There might not be a concern if there's at all, but and they're not trying to get anything out of it, but we do also sometimes get speakers who are trying to angle services. But if we could broaden that, who can attend, that probably help. I just feel a bit bad if when like Billy's come along and then there's not that many people there, and it just makes me, because it's a great presentation, and it'd just be good if there was more people. And whilst we can post it on LinkedIn and things, we're not connected to everybody in the CQI on LinkedIn. So it's just understand if there's any rules we need to be aware of, or any, process things we're not aware of.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, and that's a good point. So I think I'll explore that with Ramal and see what, if there is any rule on that or something I'm unaware of, but I'll look into it. But I definitely think if the possibility is there to send it wider, then we definitely should be. So I'll talk to the team.
To the event, because I'd also like to know about other events. I don't know if I get any emails.
Well, we put it in so in terms of emails, that would be good if we could send events wider. We have all our events in the event calendar on the website. It's just directing people to that. So you can use that. Yeah, definitely. There's all our events happening on there, of all the branches, all the SIGs that have events coming up. So yours is in there. So there is the opportunity to get people to join in that way too. But again, that's not something that's necessarily like emailed out directly to people. Hey, check out our calendar. It is advertised, but it's so it is available to everyone in the calendar, obviously, but it's getting that direct messaging out to the wider membership.
Because I was going to say, even like an idea could be the CQI posts on their LinkedIn, however, not everybody's on LinkedIn, so that doesn't probably solve the problem.
And they have we have our social media manager. She has a quite busy social media schedule on LinkedIn that they post all different stuff around the CQI. So it's not also, because we have loads of events too. They need to sort of pick and choose certain ones depending, because we've got the Quality Learning Hub stuff going on at the moment, and then World Quality Week theme is coming up and all this stuff. So it's just depending when we can fit stuff in schedules. But if we have a specific request that we could look into it, definitely, and see if there's room in the schedule
It's just about, I'm just thinking of outreach, to be honest. So
Yes.
if we could just email all members if there's
Yeah,
event,
yeah.
if it's, as I said, I don't know
Yeah.
how often everybody asks, okay, just send it to
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
I tend to do that, just get the bigger reach since COVID.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I
Um,
don't see an issue with that at all.
Because I'm probably thinking about looking at probably like a in-person event, and that probably needs a bit more
Yes.
notice and a bit more sort of advertisement than a sort of online event as well. I was probably thinking, yeah, because I think I know, seeing for myself, I probably don't look at the event thing. Yeah, personally, I would wait till email comes or something comes to me, because there's got other bits and pieces happening, I guess. So that's a prompt for me, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a prompt. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's the thing with the CQI event calendar. It's not a prompt. It's just there on the website for people to join events, but you have to actively do that, so it's not coming to you. So yeah, I think it's good now.
Yeah, that's a good point. In person one, I think it wouldn't be as problematic because we probably wouldn't want to do the full UK or global at that point. Not sure anybody from the their Taiwan branch is an email about. Not sure they'd pop over.
Not as easy, no.
Never know. Bella, who's on the call, she's looking into one at a gin distillery. So
nice.
You never know. It might draw global interest.
That sounds like a good event. I want to attend.
You're welcome visitors.
I'm not even a quality professional. I'll be there.
No, you can become a quality professional consuming enough gin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just ask about the testing, the process,
Yeah, exactly. Works for me. And again, so just to, well, I've got you, I guess, too, with when you mentioned Eventbrite before, the Quality Learning Hub, which is on the background, I point here because it's behind me. That is essentially going to be replacing Eventbrite in terms of the hub for where events sit. So it will replace Eventbrite in that sense. So it will be it will be advertised on Quality Learning Hub and register through there, and then it will still take you to Zoom webinar or Zoom Teams, but that will be the sitting place for registering for events. And we're eventually going to move our content there from YouTube and transition those over and just keep one central hub for our content so that it's not all over the place, because at the moment it's hard to search for certain things everywhere, and this is just going to keep everything in one spot. So
I've not looked at that yet. I've just had I was laughing to myself there, so I typed in the Learning Hub instead of the Quality Learning Hub. It took me to the volunteer at the CQI page. But I've not looked at that yet. So
yeah, definitely. Gareth is doing a webinar on it Thursday, so the recording I'm sure will also be circulated if you can't make it, but it is quite useful. In the volunteer forum we did today as well, we talked briefly about it, and we're going to circulate the recording from the volunteer forum to our volunteers as well for anyone who could make it, so you can see what we talked about in that today. And that involves an update on the Quality Learning Hub for the volunteer perspective and how they can use it. The webinar on Thursday is more of an overarching general about the Quality Learning Hub. So he kind of gave a nice update today about how it will not affect negatively, but just how it affects volunteers and how they can use it and how they can expect it to apply to them more specifically. So with regard to events being on there, so hopefully that will kind of help with that absence of Eventbrite, I guess. So just keeping everything in one spot, so it should hopefully help. But yeah, we'll work on the sort of the actual event host platform.
It's just our new one, first one doing it, and it felt being out of control, and we were like, it's a waiting period naturally, because now we can't just pop it up ourselves, and then not knowing who's signed up, and then can we control it? So we're panicking a little bit earlier, and then Scott, you can get in, could you? But I was like, I'm in myself, and it's recording.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
quite
Yeah.
funny. So it's just
Well-
it's just getting used to it, understanding what the new process is. I guess I don't think I don't think I've missed anything, but I've not
No,
had that
I
info
don't
flowed down.
think.
So
Yeah, I think it's just figuring out, yeah, the best way to do it. I went, was it yesterday's event was on Zoom webinar, and that I think had a bit better control aspect to it. Again, with people sitting in the lobby and stuff. But we'll just have a think. I'll speak to the team and see how we can make it just a bit smoother.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know how long it's been happening for, but any change,
No.
it takes time, doesn't it? Just
Yeah.
another question from me. Thanks for answering all of those queries. That's helpful. There's an email from you, but to Colin, that got sent
yeah.
on to me, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure about what it's about really. And then it was about East of Scotland specifically.
Yeah. So what
So
I was
here are
doing.
branches and the governance of them, things may change.
So basically what I was going at there was my intention of the email was to keep everyone in the loop, because the membership council obviously is gone and it is now the CQI council, but they're completely different things. The CQI council isn't owned by Professional Networks anymore. I guess they just found that the membership council wasn't serving its purpose, and it was meant to be kind of a communication stream and governance stream between the branches and the CQI, and reporting upwards into the membership council on sort of what's going on in the branch and like the overall governance of them. So now that the membership council is gone, all I was saying was nothing's changed yet in terms of, nothing's really changed, just that the membership council's gone, so that's changed, but still keep the regional steering committees as normal is basically what I was saying. Just still have those meetings with the regions regardless, and if there's anything to report, that goes into PNET instead of the membership council. So that's really all that it was.
Okay, I wasn't sure because as I say, it says in bold East of Scotland, but I'm guessing it just went. Did you send one to everyone? Just went to the wrong people. Is that maybe what?
I sent one to everyone with that they sit under which region they sit under.
Okay.
So I only sent it per region. And I had to add you in after because Colin said, "Oh, did you CC and Gemma?" And I was like, "Oh, she wasn't on my kind of list I had," because I kind of wrote out all the regions, who the chairs of each regions, who was the chair that I was made known of each sort of regional committee, and just letting everyone know who's in what, because what we had feedback is that people didn't know who their regional committee was or who that person was. So what I was trying to do in the email was CCing everyone who needs to know who they are if they didn't already, because certain regions were like, I don't know who I'm reporting into or what region I'm a part of in terms of reporting. That's the structure at the moment that is just set up for reporting purposes. So Northern Ireland, they're technically in the Scotland region for reporting purposes, but they're a region in themselves, obviously, because they're Northern Ireland.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's got confused because you said East of Scotland. So there's the East of Scotland, West of Scotland, North of Scotland, and then there's the Scottish Region Steering Committee for which Colin is the chair. But East of Scotland is me, West of Scotland is Mark.
Yeah, so to you I would have said chair East of Scotland, but you weren't on my list, so I had to send it to you after because I only had the vice chair, I think, because I don't think it was updated in IMS or something. I had to get Lisa to fix something because I didn't have that on my list. Because I'm also still new. I didn't know who's of what. So I had people coming back to me like, oh, I'm vice chair of this, I'm chair of this. I'm like, okay, well, we need to update that. So it highlighted some things that were not updated that needed to be updated, because I was like, I don't know who's.
Because I don't know,
what.
could you send it to Colin and
Yeah,
somebody
so-
called James Burns? I don't know who James
Yeah, so
Burns
he
is.
is west of Scotland.
James Burns.
I've heard that name before.
But he's not a chair or a, as far as I'm aware. I don't know though. Maybe something's changed.
I'm trying to see.
Just checking. I've not got secretly another vice chair or secretary. I'm not aware of it. This mystery James.
I'm just trying to find where my document was, because this was a couple weeks since I had a look at all that.
I also want to just check that there's not a concern specifically with East of Scotland, because we've had this issue before in terms of when the membership council was a thing. I didn't know formally wasn't a thing, to be honest, anymore. I could check my emails more though. And there's a lot of, the East of Scotland hasn't an event in a while. It's on this red list of, danger. And things like that, and like getting watched, and I'm getting messages from people in England and things like that. So I didn't know if that's what happened again. Obviously we've got a bigger committee now and things that from that, but I just didn't know if it was going down that similar vein again.
No, that wasn't the purpose of my email.
Okay.
It was literally just communication, just trying to keep people in the loop, and it's more of just FYI, this is sort of, because I didn't want people to, and I know, as you say, membership council, you probably didn't even notice if they were even there, because that's obviously why they've abolished, because they weren't serving their purpose. But I didn't want people to just be like, okay, well, now that the membership council, like, what's going on? Not that we really did, but it was just trying to just clear the air with regional steering committees, because we're doing this whole branch review thing coming up, and we're obviously looking at restructuring how certain branches are set up, or the general framework of branches, because some work for some and some don't work for others, and trying to establish a way forward for branches that kind of works for everyone, where that looks like in different forms, set up in different ways. And so there's also the question if regional steering committees are working and all that. So it will be reviewed and is getting into that point. So in my email, things will change at some point soon, but in terms of how they're set up and having the regional steering committees and stuff, it hasn't changed. So we're just sort of saying, keep doing what you're doing, basically, in the absence of membership council, but we report into PNET. That's kind of professional networks team. So that's kind of where I was trying to get at with that email. I'm just quickly looking for my document that told me who James Burns was, because I haven't actually met him myself. So
I just looked him up on LinkedIn. It says he's based in Methil, which would be East of Scotland, opposed to West of Scotland. Do you know him, Scott? You're saying that you're informed.
No, I'm aware of him. I'm sure I bumped into him at somewhere. The name rings a bell. What's his name?
Yeah,
James,
I'm just trying to think where.
James. What's his second name? James.
Bear with me. James Burns.
Yeah. Oh, he's not in my thing.
Yeah. Oh, he's according to my records, he's West of Scotland branch vice chair. So vice chair.
Okay.
According to my records. And so who is West of Scotland chair, or do they have one?
Mark Elms, and the secretary is Jeff. I've forgotten Jeff's surname. I see. Unless I've missed something. I'll put in
Was
the
Mark
Scottish
Elms?
description.
I thought he's
the
definitely
chair,
still chair now.
as far as I'm aware.
Okay, because I feel like Lisa said something that he wasn't, which is why I put the vice chair. I think she mentioned that he wasn't chair anymore, but I'm not 100% sure either. So yeah, that's why he was CC'd in. I'll check his profile on IMS and see.
I'm just asking them.
So I've got him as, yeah, I've got him as interim committee chair.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Not sure if that's
Acting chair, let's say.
yeah. Okay. I'll have to not sure if Lisa mentioned someone else, kind of
So
someone else has stepped in.
Jeff Marvin's the secretary. Mark stepped in. Unfortunately, the chair passed away. So
Okay.
that's why that current setup is in place, and they're looking to get another chair. Same with North of Scotland, but I'm not sure it's
Yeah,
gone
okay.
that way.
Yeah. I thought it might have, so maybe I'll just clarify. But yeah, I hope that clarifies a little bit as to what the
It does, thank you.
email was sort of intending.
I have another question. Oh, sorry, I'm also here. Apologies. I got an email about if I still use the chair.scoteast email address. And as far as I was aware, it's meant to push onto my Gmail. But it seems it hasn't been, as somebody's missed something. Let me just double check what the right one. Local branch details. Oh wait, maybe I've answered my own question. So yeah, I don't know if those emails are forwarding, but I can check that.
Okay.
Generally. But it was the next email saying, oh, I've made him a branch member, that's fine. That makes sense. I thought he'd just be on the committee, from what I've glanced at.
Oh, okay.
So I'll contact Paul. But yeah, I need to check if that's forwarding or if it's not forwarding and if there's any issues, but I'm sure I can sort that myself. I've answered my own question. I just seen that and I was like, oh, that's a shame. That's why I said in that their role's based in Glenrothes, Scotland. Also not too far from you. You might be able to do there as well.
Yeah.
Work at ProClad.
Okay.
So you know everyone in the area. That's why I said in that at the end there, if anybody sent emails that's been missed, to contact you guys and to forward it on. Essentially, they're not being ignored on purpose. Because they said they've been able to get in touch using email address on the CQI website. But yeah, I've not got anything. But maybe that automatic forwarding has dropped off.
Maybe, yeah.
I'll have a look at that.
Yeah, that's interesting. So that first part of the, do you still use your college.org, was that sent from
Rimmel or Lisa?
Oh, okay. Was that just to
I think so. It's from Lisa. I think he'd emailed.
Oh,
he'd emailed. It was Lisa. He'd emailed auditor at CQI or something like that, and auditors at quality.org, and asked. So I'm interested in finding out more about a local CQI branch in the east of Scotland, but I haven't been able to get in touch using the email address or CQI website. Please let me know if that's the best way to contact the branch.
Right. Okay.
So that's it.
Gotcha.
It's so different now because back in the day, pre-COVID and things like that, like I've been doing this for a while, so like many moons ago it feels like we used to do a program printed, it went out with Quality World, or they were posted out to a bookmark, and a little A5 version were posted out to people, and they'd be a full program for the season essentially, which essentially the year minus the summer holidays.
Yeah.
So to even answer what's going on, you'll know as soon as you know.
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
you know what I mean? It's not as that forward planning as much anymore because things have
Yeah.
evolved a little bit.
yeah, yeah. I think not a lot of our networks have planned like a full year in advance. Some have, but not all of them. So yeah,
It's hard. It's a
yeah,
fast-moving world. So it's hard to and also to get speakers and things like that isn't easy
exactly.
as well.
Yeah, securing those things and yeah, it's not as yeah, it's funny how those things change with a big major pandemic or
Yeah, and we're not
stuff
doing
happen.
we're not doing speaker gifts anymore, are we? I think I'm aware of that, but just want to clarify. Like we used to do like here's a bottle of wine or chocolate or you had an amount you could expense and do. I don't think you do that anymore, do you? For speakers.
I haven't been told
Like
otherwise.
there was an
so-
Amazon voucher or something like that, which was a small amount. Is that gone as well?
Yeah.
That's
I
okay.
don't think it's gone. I can clarify that too, because I mean, I haven't really heard of anyone using that yet, but I haven't been told that it's that it's
Okay,
gone.
If you could let me know
So
what the speaker gift policy is
yeah,
now, current, and how we, if there is still one, how we use it.
yeah, that would be
helpful. Just so we can thank some speakers. There
yeah,
we still
definitely.
can.
I'll get
I know it got restricted.
yeah.
I know it definitely got smaller in amount. But I'm not sure what's happened.
Okay.
Clearly
Yeah,
not
I'll
as an
check
event
if
for a
the
while.
policy has changed, or I'm not sure if it has, or yeah, be good to ask the team. But I think I saw it in our budget, so I don't know. We'll have to see.
Okay.
I'll
If you could
clarify.
just send the info, that would be helpful. I
Yeah.
think Scott's already asked about things like venue and costs of what we can spend and things like that generally for in-person events. So I think we have that information. I did think of another question there, but I think he might be gone. No, I can't. It's gone out of my mind.
Well, I'm always around if you think about it. Just email me.
Thank you. I will do. I just
might
I can't remember.
I hate when that happens.
Oh, that was it. So we were going to send out a questionnaire to people to our branch to say, what do you want to see? We might do an in-person networking thing. Was you interested? What day, etc., etc. Where about, you know, are we able to, how would you go about doing that? Do you have like a SurveyMonkey account? Can we just do our own SurveyMonkey thing and send a link to you and you send it out? Well, because obviously we know for privacy reasons we can't contact people ourselves. So
yeah, so we could either, you can send us the questions you want us to put in. We put it in like, I think what we're using is Microsoft Forms, and then we send the link to Microsoft Forms and we can send that out, detailing it with the link. Or you could fill out a Microsoft Forms and give us the link. It's
okay. So if I just send you even an email with the questions and any logic specifications
for any kind of info that you want added in, like context or just a little blurb we can put in the email, or you know, whatever, we can send that out.
Okay, I just
so you're looking just to send this out to your region, or
yes.
Okay.
We might send it to Scotland wide generally, but it may be more appropriate just for the region. Well, maybe not. We're not an in-person event in ages. We're unlucky in Scotland compared to other ones. We don't have a local university that's there for free use and has a relevant course to have drive the numbers. Compared to north and west of Scotland.
Yeah.
So maybe we could open it up actually to Scotland if we did a networking thing, for example. So yeah, we'll have a think about that. Just Hillary was dropped off finally. Hillary must have got bored with the chat that wasn't relevant. Finally.
How long was she staying on? I'm like going, what is that person doing?
Maybe she I can stop recording. I'm gonna stop that.